What if everything you thought you knew about mythology's villains was wrong? What if Medusa wasn't always a monster? What if Hades wasn't the devil you've been told about? What if Pandora didn't unleash only doom, and Loki's chaos had a hidden purpose? Tonight, we're pulling back the curtain on the most misunderstood figures of myth. Mythology has always celebrated its heroes, Hercules, Zeus, Thor. But lurking in the shadows are figures whose stories were twisted, simplified, or erased. They were cast as villains or side characters, when in truth, their tales are some of the most human of all. Let's meet them. First, Hades. To most, he's the god of death, the villain of every underworld tale. But in Greek myth, Hades was not evil. He didn't torment the dead. He protected order. While Zeus chased women and Poseidon stirred storms, Hades ruled quietly and fairly. He was loyal to Persephone, and unlike the other gods, he never strayed. Even the story of Persephone's descent can be seen not as abduction, but as balance, the eternal cycle of life and death, winter and spring. Hades wasn't a devil. He was a guardian of the cosmic order, a god who kept the world turning. Next, Medusa, a name synonymous with terror. Her gaze turned men to stone. But behind the monster was tragedy. Medusa was once a priestess of Athena, devoted and beautiful. In some tellings, she was cursed, not for guilt, but for being wronged. Her serpents and deadly stare weren't weapons of cruelty, but shields of survival. To some, she became a protector of women, a symbol of rage against injustice. Medusa's curse was her sorrow made visible, and her story, one of the most misunderstood in all mythology. Then Pandora. Her name had become a warning, the woman who unleashed every evil into the world. But the tale is more than blame, for when the jar emptied and despair filled the earth, one thing remained: hope. Pandora wasn't the destroyer of mankind. She was a reminder that even in our darkest hours, there's always something left to cling to. Her story isn't about foolishness, but about resilience. Not all monsters are monstrous. Chiron, unlike his savage centaur kin, was wise and kind. He trained heroes, Achilles, Jason, Hercules, yet he himself suffered a wound that could never heal, rather than curse the world. Chiron chose sacrifice, giving up his immortality to ease his pain and gift his wisdom to others. He was no beast, but mythology's truest teacher. His story is not a conquest, but a compassion. And then Loki, the trickster Norse myth. To Marvel fans, he's a villain. To old sagas, he was chaos incarnate. But chaos isn't always evil. Loki's tricks often cause disaster. Yet they also brought gifts. Without him, the gods wouldn't have Odin's spear, Thor's hammer, or Freya's necklace. He was both friend and betrayer, loved and hated, bound to a fate he could never escape. Loki's story isn't of evil, but of complexity. A god who reflected the unpredictable, messy, human side of the cosmos. So, why do these stories matter today? Because they remind us life isn't black and white. Villains aren't always villains. Sometimes they're guardian survivors or forces of change. Sometimes the most unlikely figures carry wisdom, resilience, or compassion. To see them clearly is to see ourselves, flawed, misunderstood, yet deeply human. Tell us in the comments, which mythological figure do you think deserves redemption? And don't forget, there are countless more stories hiding in the shadows, which we will uncover in our next myth. Subscribe, and together we'll bring them back to light.